Dan Bernstein Unfiltered. Unfiltered on 312 Sports.
Dan Bernstein Unfiltered. I'm Dan Bernstein. That is Matt Abaticola. And today we have to talk about the Bears' response to the ongoing silliness that continues to occur based on something somebody said on television. I just want to be sure it has nothing to do with what actually happens on the field. It was just something that somebody said into a microphone on television that is now rising to a level that is absolutely silly. And I hope it's over. I hope that's it, and we're done with it, and we can move along from whatever this was, whatever this is. So we'll talk about that. Jed Hoyer had his annual end-of-season postmortem where he takes every question and tries to answer and or parry away some of the inquisition that he receives from the assembled media. And I have some questions, and I have been turning over in my head one particular response from Jed Hoyer that I'm not sure what the angle exactly is. I'm not sure what the motivation is or what the level of self-awareness is in the response. And I want to talk it through is what I want to do, because I was a little concerned about what I heard, if that makes any sense. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm reading too much into it because I have been fairly accused of that before, and maybe this is one of these cases. But let's please let yesterday's comments by Caleb Williams be the end of this very, very silly and stupid chapter in this Chicago Bears season. Also, near the end of the show, we have a Radioactive Shrimp update.
Oh, boy.
For you, because we've been following the story very, very closely. The Dan Bernstein Unfiltered has been your place to get the latest on what's happening with the worldwide radioactive shrimp crisis. We have tracked down the baseball team that is changing its name to the Radioactive Shrimp. We are making sure that you are safe and protected from cesium poisoning. It's been a mission of this show, and really, I've just said that's something very important to me, is to keep people protected from environmental exposure to cesium.
Yeah, I mean, there's been several iterations of what we've covered with this story. We are the home for all radioactive shrimp news.
Yes.
But
I think everybody knows that now.
At first, it was like, does one guy take it? Do we all take it? Do we want to be all shrimp people? Do we want one super-powered shrimp human being?
Shrimp people.
So there's a lot.
People.
There's a lot to
walk
do with
like
it.
shrimp, talk like people. So we're on top of it. Just don't worry. We're here for you. Also, I've got to be honest about what's going on with South Park. We talked about some of the previous episodes that were really epic, brilliant, important, and I don't know what they're doing now. Some of this is just well less than that, and it's a major fumble.
If you keep talking about it, you're going to make me watch South Park.
Well, I can't. Spoiler alert, I can't really recommend it at the moment.
Okay.
It's not good right now.
All right.
So, all right. Okay, here's Blanco. Somebody, I think, should pull Caleb Williams aside and say, hey, man, you don't need this right now. You don't need to be posting things. You don't need to be playing the meme game right now. There may be a time and a place to do it. There may be a point in your career to do it. Go ahead, be yourself and do what you do. But you don't want to have to answer for anything at a press conference to walk stuff back. As somebody who has had to figure out the relationship with social media.
Yeah.
I'm telling you honestly here about how easy it can be to think that just because you are sitting in your pajamas on your phone and everything's everywhere. Little thing, when you're Caleb Williams, every little thing you do is going to be picked apart and read into in ways that are unintended. And the last thing you want to do at your time that now is limited. It used to be people could get after you every day and in the locker room and you were just there and you're just a normal person, but now football people aren't normal people and they have to be protected from everyone despite having access to everyone all the time, in one of the great ironies of what's happened in overall NFL public relations. But I think a little bit of public relations here could have gone a real long way in somebody preparing him for, hey, somebody's going to ask you, Caleb, about was it Instagram where?
Yeah, wherever he posted, Instagram or on X, on Twitter, whatever it might have been.
Yeah, and somebody is going to say, hey, why did you respond in that particular way? Why did you say what you said when you're saying you're having a little bit of fun? When he posted, it was lucky, TA. Okay, Troy Aikman did the touchdown, lucky, and the whole thing, but don't engage.
Yeah, and
don't engage in that. Nothing's going to help. Engaging is not going to help you in any way.
Yeah.
It might stir up the fanboys a little bit, but you don't need those people. You don't need to play that game right now.
Yeah, I didn't think it would have been helpful if someone just sat him down and said, hey, when they ask you about the Aikman stuff, here's how you reply.
I like your plan on this. I think that your PR mind on this is well tuned.
Yeah, it's just, here's what you say. Troy Aikman is a Hall of Fame Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's won 3 times. And if I can get my career to be anywhere near what Troy Aikman accomplished on the football field, I would be very, very happy and pleased with my football career. And anything I can do to play like Troy Aikman on the field, I think that would be really helpful. And I'll take any feedback or criticism that I can hear from a guy like Troy Aikman to make my career better for the Chicago Bears and for the Chicago Bears fans. And you end it right there. And you stop it.
I think Ben Johnson handled it well, actually. I think to set the tone when the coach sets the tone by saying, listen, you want respect in this league, you got to go earn it. That's where we're at right now.
Right, period.
Full stop.
That's it.
Full stop. If you really are getting annoyed by what is said about you during the game, you won the game, man.
Yeah, you can't say that you could care less when you mean you couldn't care less.
I know that's a pet peeve.
Yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. But you can say that you couldn't care less about what's being said and then go and respond and talk about it and post.
Right.
Then you really do care. And it does bother you, whether you think it's under the umbrella of I'm just having fun and playing around. You
pick your spots.
Care.
Pick your spots.
You care.
Of course it proves that you do. You took the time to evince that level of caring. And here is what Caleb Williams did say to the assembled media yesterday when asked about it.
Did you meet with Troy last week leading up to the game?
I did not.
I
did not. I didn't get to meet with him. Tried to meet with him, and then reached out and tried to meet, and that didn't happen. And so, moved on from it. Went and played the game and came out 3-2.
Here, okay.
What's with the passive voice?
But I'm really.
If you want to meet with him, meet with him. He said he was lifting, right?
Okay, no. Here, hang on a second. I'm really glad that there was a follow up to that because the question was, did you meet with him? No, I didn't meet with him.
Why did you not meet with him?
I was here late and timings didn't meet up, lifting or whatever the case may have been, and then tried to call him after the game or not after the game, after the day, that day that I was supposed to meet with him, and it didn't get through.
Okay, so you had a scheduled time in a day to meet with him, and there was other things that preoccupied your day, getting ready for this football game.
That were more important to you.
And then you couldn't meet with him, and so you never got to meet with him. Now, if Troy Aikman takes that to the booth, that's on Troy Aikman and his prerogative because he gets the opportunity to say whatever he wants to say.
And if you lost an opportunity, if you decided to not avail yourself of an opportunity to play the political game, small p, that some people care about that more than others, but don't care about it after the fact.
Right.
If it wasn't important enough to you before the fact, say, hey, Troy, how's it going? You won 3 Super Bowls. Not only that, you also rebounded from being a really bad quarterback when you started. Any advice?
Yeah. I mean, if it meant that much to you to do that and to have that, like you said, that political advantage there, an opportunity, then you would have taken that opportunity. Now, other things got in that way, and you chose to do those things. Great.
Cool.
But that's the relationship for this week with the broadcaster that you establish and set up. If he wants to be kind of immature and hold that against you and bring that to the booth, then great. If he was going to be that way, even if he had met with you, it doesn't matter. And more
none of it matters.
But more importantly, though, as a fan, it doesn't matter. Like, he can go and talk shit about Caleb Williams the entire 60 minutes of actual playing time, and Caleb can still go out and have a fantastic game and win that football game, which your team did. So just why is it impacting you so much as a fan?
Just listen to your coach. Listen to your coach. He's being very, very clear about this.
I mean, he can
you
say
want respect in this league, you got to go earn it.
Troy can say whatever he wants. Just because he says something doesn't speak it into existence on the football field. But hopefully it's all said and done, and there's nothing more left to it.
And we can look back at whether at the end of the season or at some point years down the road, next year, the year after, when the Bears are having a parade, and say, remember when they used to care about what Troy Aikman thought?
Yeah.
Remember when this team, when this championship team, this perennial contender used to care about what Troy Aikman thought about a given performance?
Right. And again, if it really does matter to you, then take the time to meet with him.
Right.
Take the time. If there's a scheduled time and you couldn't do it, then it's not that important, then don't sweat it.
Which is all a way of saying, let's put a bow on this. Let's put this, may we never have to deal with this kind of thing again. And if you're, just don't whine about what is said on a national broadcast. If it's just an opinion, if it's just somebody who is paid to have a thought, that's his job. His job isn't to like your team. His job isn't to promote the players that you like. His job isn't to root for players, and not necessarily root for players equally.
Yeah, correct. He doesn't have to. That's not in a job requirement.
No, they're also, if it may not be how everybody does it, but if somebody wants to play favorites, if somebody's a fan of somebody, as long as they're honest about it, and say, I like this guy better, I like watching this guy better, I like watching this guy, or I feel more strongly about this guy's future than this guy's future. Okay, so right. What? So it doesn't line up with what you think. Okay.
That's okay.
He just happens to have a job that allows him to say that to a lot of people. So what? So let this be over, at least for now, and let's concentrate on the winning of football games. And again, go back to what the coach said. Listen, you want respect in this league, you've got to go earn it. That's where we're at right now.
Yep.
And then he added, good, better, best. Never let it rest.
Something about your chest.
Your good gets better, and your better gets best. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good gets better and your better gets best.
There you go. Maybe they can sing that song.
I've been doing it in my head. I
can tell.
But there's all sorts of, there's all kinds of different ways you could do it.
Yeah.
Somebody should do a whole album of different tunes to which you good, better, best, never let it rest.
Well, I can tell that it's been in your brain because you stole be my guest song as I was inviting you to the
best
podcast.
Better, best, till your good gets better, best. Something in the thing. Yeah, I can't stop.
I know.
I'm sorry.
I can tell. No, it's fine.
It happens to me.
I know. I get it.
You get it on a loop, and then
I understand
because you get these worms in your brain like RFK Jr. and they move around and then they come out places, and that's sort of
stay away from the Tylenol.
Oh, it'll kill you.
Yep.
Even looking at it, saying it. Don't even say it. Don't when you walk by in the store. Don't point at it. Don't. It's all bad stuff for you.
Anyway.
Indeed. Speaking of money. Jed Hoyer was asked about that, and that is the quote that I said that I kind of need help with because it's still resonating in my head that I can't quite believe he said what he said in the way that he said it. If it's unironic, I'm a little disappointed. If it is dryly self-aware, I'm cool with it, but I'm not sure.
Well, there's also a third option. So here's the cut. He was asked about the increased revenue generated from the 5 home playoff games, if that would have an impact on baseball operations. And here's the answer he gave.
I mean, certainly, the crowds and the energy was amazing, and I think that it was really nice to be able to play 5 home playoff games. I wish we could have played a lot more, but it was nice to play 5 home playoff games for these fans. I feel like they deserve it always, but even more this year. I just think the way they responded to this team was great. As far as the budget stuff, I haven't had those conversations. yet. I think we'll sit down over the next 2 or 3 weeks and go through that. But I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team. I think that's the simplest thing I'll say. But as far as details, I don't know yet.
I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to. He heard himself. He heard himself talk.
Yeah,
and he stopped. Something flashed a warning sign in there. He's smart enough that the little back of his head in there was like, Jed, careful. He heard the words. I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team. You are the Cubs. You have, and this is the truth again. Every MLB team has enough money to field whatever team they want. That's the Royals and the Pirates and the Marlins and the Reds and the Rockies. Every single team has enough money to field a team and can go put together and compete at whatever level they want. The key word is want. Now, I'm aware that he's not in charge of allocating the money.
right.
He's the president of baseball operations, but he is handed a number. And there's some negotiation. He talks, and it's not Ricketts giving him a secret envelope with a little piece of paper like a fortune cookie in it. They talk about it. But the truths are what is the physics of this are Ricketts doesn't want to spend more than he has to
Correct.
to be good enough. Jed would like a lot more money. That anybody in his position, give me all the money. Give me unlimited. Let me go spend whatever I want. Let me go be the Dodgers and spend everything. But he can't. And he likes his job. He's got a really good job with good bosses and a lot of resources. And I would think, on balance, pretty good, pretty supportive ownership.
Mm-hmm.
There are worse places to work. But if he's so already sort of pre-capitulated to, or he is, that's probably the wrong word, that he's comfortable with his professional position, knowing that he's not going to have an unlimited budget. Many of his peers don't. When he sort of wonders if the grass is greener elsewhere, he knows he's got it pretty good. He's in a big city. He's got a nice budget. They're usually right around the middle of payroll or near the top third in payroll. And they've got money to go sign prospects, and they've got nice facilities everywhere. So it's pretty good. But truth be told, if you pulled him aside, got a couple beers in him, and say, hey, would you like to be the Dodgers? Hell yeah. That's be in the toy box. You're going to have the kid with every toy you want. Pressure's higher, but he's a competitor. Wants to win the World Series every year. So I wonder, I want to play just, if we can isolate just when he heard himself say it. And does he know it? Does he know it's kind of funny? Does he know that is maddening to hear? Like, that I'm confident we the baseball operation will be allotted by ownership that's making money hand over fist and spending a very small percentage of baseball revenue on payroll. Just baseball revenue. We mentioned it the other day. We can go back to some of those numbers. There was a chart that came out about percentage of baseball revenue spent on payroll.
And it was under 30%.
Okay.
I mean, I think they were right with the Pirates as far as the percentage of revenue generated into payroll output.
I want to just hear it again. Hear him. He does catch himself in the middle of this so he can make sure he's getting the words in the proper order with the proper tone.
See if it's right here. Hang on.
I give our pro acquisitions group a lot of credit. I give our coaches a lot of credit for we had a good bullpen all year with,
Hang on.
Okay, well,
Yeah, no, I switched.
they did cobble together a good
I switched
bullpen,
over to
though.
something else.
All right,
hang
well,
on.
okay. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Yes, you should be. Hold it. Hold it.
BATED.
Let's see. Hang on.
When I fish,
As far as the budget stuff, I haven't had those conversations yet. I think we'll sit down over the next 2 or 3 weeks and go through that. But yeah, I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team.
He hesitates at enough. I'm confident we're going to have enough money to field a good team. It's amazing.
Yeah, I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team.
When you read that quote, it's different than hearing it.
Yeah.
Of course they have enough money to field a good team. They have enough money to field 3 good teams.
Well, we know before this season, the Cubs could have signed Alex Bregman. Alex Bregman wanted to come to the Cubs. And Jed went to Tom, and Tom wasn't going to support the contract length and terms that the Bregman camp wanted, that Jed wanted to sign him for. So they didn't.
Mm-hmm. They could have.
Yeah, they could have. Alex wanted to come here. It didn't work out because ownership said we're not spending that kind of money. It's just not going to happen. Now, I hear that. I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team. To me, I just take that as a guy who has zero control over what he gets to spend. Just not sending a message, but just saying, yeah, because it sounds stupid to hear him say it. I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team. It sounds stupid saying it because he knows it's stupid saying it, but the whole fact is it's out of his control completely.
That's why I wondered about the self-awareness in there. It is on its face. It's lunacy that he has to say that there's some question as to whether or not the president of baseball operations of the Chicago Cubs is going to have enough money to field a good team. He has to. That's why it's sort of prima facie. It's on its face. Those words put together in that moment are hilarious. Something in the back of his head knew that when it was coming out of his mouth.
Yeah, I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team.
Great. Awesome. Cool. That the Chicago Cubs, coming off a 92-win season, are going to have enough money to field a good team.
Yep.
Not a champion. I'm confident that we're going to increase our payroll enough to ensure that we're competitive for a championship. I am going to go to Tom Ricketts, or if I don't have enough money to work with, I'm not going to do this job. I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team. Darn it. And watch us get out there and scrap and claw our way from the bottom. And we're going to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps in the old American dream, by gum. Come on, man. Come on. And that is, when you have, what did you say, 30% of revenue is spent on payroll. So
it was just under 30. Yeah.
And if we had Crane Kenny here, he'd say, okay, that's not profit. That's gross revenue. And then, well, we gotta pay people, and we've got building upkeep, and we got everything else. All right, great. But that's just baseball revenue. Understand the context of this. When you see charts like that, baseball revenue means in the walls of the park. There's revenue sharing. When you make money, you've got to give some of that to some of the lesser teams. That's just what's in the walls of venerable Wrigley Field.
Yeah, $584 million generated in revenue, which would have been like fifth or fourth or fifth in all of Major League Baseball, because that's not in order here. Then the 213 in payroll gets them to, I'm sorry, it was just under 40, 36.4%. 36.4%. Where Cleveland, let's say, spent 39.4% of their $336 million they generated. The Cubs generated 584. Pirates generated $326 million, spent 112, which is 34.5%.
And the Cubs will say, yeah, we're in this old ballpark, and it takes a lot to keep it up, and we're in the middle of a city, and these other places aren't, and we've got big city labor costs, and we've got union contracts, whatever it may be. But what about Hickory Street Partners? What about Tom Ricketts' major money-making business that is everything Cubs related outside of the ballpark? That's not even talking about all the rooftops, all the bars, all the restaurants, Hotel Zachary, Marquee Network. Like that number that you're quoting is just this tiny little cut of baseball revenue.
And then
compared to everything, the entire real estate entertainment footprint. They're a massive real estate and entertainment revenue generator, with baseball being a subset of that.
And that Gallagher Parkway, that little
Gallagher
area,
Way?
Gallagher Way, like you can go there without a ticket and sit in the AstroTurf, throw a ball and have catch with your dad, and you can buy a beer and a hot dog
and a T-shirt
because all right there without having a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So that's money that's not considered within the walls of Wrigley Field, is it?
Correct.
And that's always packed.
Yes.
Like you don't need a ticket to go.
And
you can hang out there all you want. And
what about the rooftops?
you can get the $12 hot dog and eat as many of those as you want.
And they don't have to share that revenue. They want you to spend it there.
Yeah.
They would much prefer.
Which is why they have bands there.
They would much
They have
prefer.
activities.
It's why it's open early and late. They want you in the park for the game, out of the park immediately after the game. So you can they get to keep much more of your individual dollar.
Listen, if you don't have a ticket for this game, still come on by. Hang out. You can have a hot dog. You can get a beer. You can buy a soda for your kid. You can stand right next to Wrigley and play catch with your kid.
And truth is, it's great.
It is great. No, it's fantastic.
It's great. And they make it very attractive to do that. It's awesome around the field.
We're gonna have live music here.
I'm
too.
not debating.
Come on by and hang out.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
I just think we need to tell the truth about that's where they want you. They want you to buy your ticket. They would love for you to drink all your beer before the game outside and drink all your beer and eat your stuff after the game outside, because they keep all that money. They don't have to share any of it. And they don't track any of it. There's no MLB data on all that stuff. That's all theirs. I'm confident we'll have enough money.
Yeah, I'm confident that we're going to have enough money to field a good team.
Well, that's a relief. Boy, that's really. Oh, I was worried. Boy, I was will they have enough money? Oh, thank God. That's the only answer I wanted. Will the Cubs? I know. It was touch and go there for a while. I know how it's just by the skin of their damn teeth that after this year, after the 92 win season, where they end up having some home playoff games, thank God, thank the baseball gods, the Cubs will have enough money to try to field a competitive, good team. All right, well, boy, I'm sure I hope with a little bit of gumption and stick-to-itiveness, they'll be able to scrap and claw their way to a nice competitive year and keep everybody happy that they'll be right in it.
All right, let's move on with more from Jed. He was asked. I'm going to play a couple cuts here for you.
Somebody make Bernstein stop.
No, you're good. It's a fair thing to ask and to look into. But he was asked about modernizing their pitching staff with velocity. So there's two cuts here we're going to talk about adding more velocity.
Modernizing with velocity.
Yeah.
This is our favorite kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Batts. Right? We need to hire Mrs. Batts and the teaching assistant, Miss Batts.
So asked about adding velocity to the pitching staff and specifically the rotation. So two cuts. Here they are.
Both those bullpens those are two of the best bullpens in baseball for sure.
Padres and Brewers.
Yeah, it was intimidating watching Mason Miller warm up at times in the postseason.
Because he throws 106.
Our bullpen was really good. I thought I give our pro acquisitions group a lot of credit. I give our coaches a lot of credit for. We had a good bullpen all year. With Brad Keller was a minor league free agent, and the other guys, Drew Pomeranz was acquired on an assignment clause, and those guys did an amazing job. Certainly that's something that you take notice of, no question. And something like I said before, finding pitching, developing pitching is something that it never stops, and we have to continue to look at because, there's no question that those bullpens are really good. But I would also add that our bullpen was really good as well, and that's something we just have to continue to focus on. And bullpens are volatile. There's no guarantees year to year what exactly how they're going to perform, but you just have to continue to be vigilant. You have to continue to find guys in every single area, and I think I'm confident that our pitching group will get the most out of guys.
I am too, but still, find guys that throw 100.
That helps.
He's right on all of that.
Yes, he is.
And he did a great job this year. They found Drew Pomerantz on the scrap heap.
Yeah.
I think that he really did. But the point is, you don't have to. You don't have to live around the margins. Draft guys that throw 100. I don't care if you got to give them all Tommy John. You wait a year and a half till they come back from Tommy John. You got to do it again. Just swap out another UCL. But that's the game right now. Don't fight against it. Don't try to play a baseball in 2005. You're playing baseball right now. Get guys that throw 100. And get guys with crazy stuff, crazy breaking stuff, holy shit stuff, where the hitter goes, I have no chance at this. That's what these bullpens are.
Right. And
if they're well constructed, every next guy coming in is sticking it up your ass. And the Cubs don't have that. Cubs, little trick guys.
They have one guy.
Ground here. Maybe it grounds it over here. The Cubs, this is how you look at it. When you saw Palencia warming up in the playoffs, that was your must. Okay, I got to use Palencia now. You need 5 Palencias. The good teams have 5 Palencias. The good teams don't have 1. Ooh, let's use our special guy. No, everybody's that guy. Everybody you bring in is that guy. You're not spinning breaking balls up there trying to get him to ground to Nico. And you got a great defense. But in the playoffs, you make one mistake and the ball goes over the fence, you lose.
Yep.
There's 2 outs. You get too much of the plate. And you have this tiny margin for error, and a guy hits it out, you lose. Because they're bringing in guys who are pumping it past your hitters. It's really simple.
So
stuff, velocity, and guys who can hit stuff and velocity.
And continuing on that, ask about getting more strikeouts in the rotation.
Yeah, there's no question. I think we talked at the beginning about what I'll think back on 2025. I think one of the main things I will think back on is our defense. I do think it's sort of the backbone of what we do, and sometimes it doesn't get enough attention. We focus on the pitching or focus on hitting, and it's we have exceptional fielders in a lot of different places, and that certainly helps. But all that said, when the ball's not in play, it's better than when it's in play, by definition. So I think you're always looking for stuff and strikeouts. We'll continue to push that. But I also will say, it's nice to know that we can, I think the combination of our pitching infrastructure and the combination of our defense, I think we can get the most out of a lot of pitchers because I do feel like we make plays. And I think that shows up almost every night.
You can't make plays on home runs. A home run is not a ball in play. He said, generally you'd rather have a ball not in play. Yeah, except when it's a home run. Because that's not a ball in play either. That skips the whole defense thing.
Yeah.
So having a great defense is awesome, but a great defense is mitigated, is counterbalanced by hitting it to a place where they can't defend it. And that's in the seats.
Like when they lost 3-1 in Game 5 in Milwaukee.
And I'm not
Those
even talking playoffs.
Right, I know.
And why could you not start your number 2 starter in the playoffs? Why did you have this veteran left-handed starter who's been brilliant for you, who almost always has given you a quality start, and you can't pitch him? Why? Because he's giving up too many home runs.
Right. And it was a trend that really increased as the season went on. Going to the playoffs, that was a concern and a fear. And the whole point was, it's okay because he's only giving up solo home runs. If you give up a couple solo home runs in a playoff game, that makes a huge difference. Huge difference.
And if look, Shota Imanaga is good, but he's a 4 or a 5 on a really good team.
Right. If Shota is is your 2 next year, that's an issue.
You couldn't start him in a playoff game.
Yeah, it's a great pitcher. I love to have him on the team. He's apparently a great teammate. He's great in the clubhouse. He can throw outs, good, great, but he can't be
throw outs good.
He can't be your 2.
No,
he can't be.
No, and I know you lost Steele.
Yeah,
but even Steele is not throwing 100.
No, he's not. All right. 4 cuts. I'm going to put them all together about Kyle because he was asked about Kyle Tucker a number of times. So just get all the Kyle Tucker stuff out there for you.
When we were at our best, Kyle was at his best, and vice versa. There's no question he had a huge impact on this team. Obviously, he had dealt with some injuries and struggled a bit in the second half. But I think when you take the totality of the season, he had a huge impact as we hoped he would. Obviously now we're sort of into free agency, and we'll be talking to Casey, and we'll be having those conversations. And so, I mean, like I said a bunch of times during the season, like everyone can use a guy like Kyle Tucker. Everyone gets better by having a player like that, and we'll certainly be having those conversations. I think Kyle, I think he's. I think he had a good experience here for sure. I think that certainly, I think, enjoyed playing in Chicago, and I think that certainly Wrigley and our fans made a huge impact. But ultimately, I think Kyle has a big decision. I think that he's earned the right to not only be a free agent, but to be a coveted free agent. And so, I would expect that they'll play their cards kind of close to the vest. But like I said, I know he had a good experience, and like I said, I know that when we were sort of at our best, he played exceptionally well. I think Kyle, Kyle had a huge impact on our offense this year, and so if he's not here, then that's a void, and we have to figure out how to replace that. But there's a lot of different ways to do that, and so I think that'll be the focus. But yes, I think that there's no question that if you don't retain a player of his caliber, then you have to replace those wins and that WAR in some other ways. And I think that's something we'll be really focused on. But how you do that, I think, can take many different shapes and forms.
All right, sounds like he's gone. It sounds like they know he's gone, unless something weird happens when the market sets. And sometimes market dynamics are unpredictable. And obviously, Kyle Tucker himself having 2 consecutive seasons now with some injury issues and some odd injury issues where there were some uncertainties about what was wrong and why it was wrong and what the diagnosis was. He's a year older, but all it takes is one to set that market. I don't think the Cubs are going to play that game. I think they'll give it a chance, and then they'll do what a lot of teams do, either say we tried, or they'll put some incentive-laden offer together and say, well, he had a potential to make this much money with us. It's all bullshit. They don't want to spend upfront guaranteed money to retain him. But he answered his own question when it comes to replacing that kind of WAR. You can do that on the pitching side also. It's run prevention, and it's run production. So that's what the balance is. They've invested a lot in their defense. They got all of these Gold Glove nominees, and that's great. But you need to miss bats. You need to hit more homers, and that's where it's got to come from. We know what aspects of WAR win games, and it's great that Nico Horner has a high WAR number as a second baseman, and you can accrue high positional WAR at second base because of the defensive positional adjustment. It doesn't slump, but they're not all WAR is created equal in that respect. And I think trying to continue to tighten up the defense is great. But unless you got a guy who's 17 feet tall who can run around pulling home runs out of the air, I don't know how much ultimately that's going to help you. I think you get to a point of diminishing returns that I love to have a great defense. But there's an aspect in baseball. In football, you can't... there's always a defense out there. In basketball, there's always a defense. Baseball is the only sport where you can do something to score that is literally indefensible.
Correct.
You can't do that in another sport.
Right.
Except maybe a free throw in basketball.
There's only one way that I see Kyle Tucker returning. That is, his people know for sure there will be no baseball, and he takes some kind of smaller term contract to have a contract going into baseball not happening. That's the only route that I see it. And that's very, very small. Very, very small chance. I do not see any scenario where Kyle Tucker will be in a Cubs uniform for 2026.
And his home road splits.
He was much better on the road than he was at home.
Right. So,
but overall, pitching was much better at Wrigley this year than offense.
right. So why does an offensive player want to play in a pitcher's park?
But you can also look, though, too,
Especially if there are incentives in a contract.
that Michael Busch, PCA, also lefties, had much better years at Wrigley than on the road. Kyle Tucker was just the reverse of that. And that's one of the odd anomalies
But he's Kyle
of baseball
Tucker.
and its randomness that you just can't control.
Right. But it might be random, or he might prefer hitting elsewhere and would like to play more games elsewhere.
It could be, yes, very possible. And one more cut here on Kyle.
Not connected to Kyle. I think in general, I think that you have to evaluate. You have to start everything that we do with an evaluation of the player and focus on that valuation, and then what's that worth to the organization. I think that's the backbone. I think that in my career, I think when you make decisions that are based on your valuation and how you value the player, then it sort of takes some of that the other stuff out of it, and you make better decisions. I think if you're reacting to how things are going around you, I think that's when you can make real mistakes. So to me, it's just that's going to be our focus. How do we value? It's not just Kyle; it's any player. What's the valuation we put on this player? How much is he worth to this organization right now? And I think that if you do that consistently, I think you end up, like I said, making more and more good decisions. And the more good decisions we make, the more it's added.
If your valuation's correct.
Correct.
All of that makes perfect sense if you've evaluated somebody correctly. And that's never 100%. Would you have let Kyle Schwarber go for nothing if you knew what he was going to be? Come on, man. Not everybody gets everything right.
Right.
What you're saying makes perfect sense. We make good decisions based on our evaluations.
And if your evaluations are correct, then great. Then you're going to make really good decisions.
But there's some that are going to be wrong.
Correct.
And that means even a decision based on your evaluation, it's consistent, but it's not necessarily correct.
All right.
Now, all this said, I think Jed Hoyer's pretty good at his job.
No, I agreed.
I think he's a good guy. I think he's good at his job. And I do think that it's unfortunate that all of these decisions have to be made around the margins economically, when it would be easier if they simply if Tom Ricketts wanted to spend more money and have some redundant pieces and just make it not have to do small market stuff when you're not a small market.
All right. He talked about playing offense and the offensive ability at Wrigley Field this year.
The ballpark thing, to me, I don't really understand that. The focus on the ballpark. I think I've been here for 14 years. It's been a mix of seasons, honestly. In 2023, it was one of the best hitting ballparks in baseball. The last 2 years, it happens to have blown in. I don't think anything has changed dramatically that will lead us now to having this happen over and over. So I think we're dealing with randomness, number one. Number two is a lot of players put up great numbers. Michael Busch hit 38 homers if you include the postseason, and Pete went 30-30, and Seiya went 30 and 100, and I just think you can put up really good numbers here. The idea that somehow Wrigley Field is a hitter's nightmare, I just find that to be, for 2 years in a row the wind blew in a little bit, but the idea that free agents aren't going to want to play here, or hitters aren't going to want to come here, I can't imagine a better place to play. So that's something I just kind of reject outright, and I think that it's, like I said, I think there's some randomness we're dealing with here. That said, and I've always said this, I think the fact that Wrigley can play so differently, it just means you have to have really good players. There's not a type of player that you can build. You don't want to go out and get a bunch of fly ball hitters because you have a year where the wind blows out. You don't want to go out and overemphasize, guys hit the ball on the ground and, don't have any power because it blows in. I just think we need, we have to be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife of an offense, because we don't know what our environment is night to night. And that's every year. I mean, there'll be years where it blows in more and years where it blows out more. But the fact of the matter is we don't know day to day what it's going to be like. So I think we have to embrace it. We have to have players that can beat you in a lot of different ways. And I think we have that right now.
He beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was about to say, yes, I agree with you on randomness. Baseball has a lot of randomness and a lot of luck. You know how you consistently overcome that? With really good players. And not trying to find or make really good players all the time. That's a huge part of it. But you can backstop all of this. If this doesn't work, then what? We're hopeful this works, but if it doesn't, then what?
Right.
So he answered his own question. I agree with him on the randomness.
Yeah.
Some years it's a player's park, some years not. I think given enough meteorological sample, we might look at larger atmospheric trends about what the winds and temperatures are doing to Wrigley Field, but we're not there yet. We don't have enough. Just get better players.
Yeah, and I think
you know what better players are? Expensive.
You just have to keep in mind what he's asked about and what he's answering is the fact that, all right, Wrigley Field was more of a pitcher's ballpark the last couple of years. Does that make you react differently in who you sign and who you go after and how you evaluate players? And he answered it correctly.
Yeah, not
He's like,
necessarily.
you can't do that.
You can't go chasing the latest.
Like 2023,
atmospheric
it was a great
trend.
hitter's ballpark.
Right.
Now it was more of a pitcher's park. I can't change that. And he continues on, talks more about left-handed batters at Wrigley Field.
Michael Busch is a left-handed hitter, and he hit a ton of homers. This year, Pete hit a lot of homers at home. I don't think that, there are definitely players in the individual year that can happen. I think Cody had great numbers at Wrigley in 2023, and he struggled in 2024. So the fact that a left-handed hitter struggled in a given year here isn't indicative that left-handed hitters can't perform here, because I think we watched Michael Busch perform exceptionally well here and Pete perform well. And I just think sometimes it's kind of random. I think sometimes home roads, they're not always environmental. I think sometimes it's just something that happens.
Yep.
Yeah, listen real quick here on some splits for the Cubs. Their OPS, 761 away, 740 home. Okay, home away splits. 120 home runs away, 103 home runs at home. Their total OPS plus, 98 at home, 103 away.
Yeah, that's probably noise.
Yeah, but overall, that was the general trend at Wrigley this year.
Mm-hmm.
Pitching was a little better than hitting at Wrigley Field. But just because it was like that in 2025 doesn't mean he needs to influence the way he looks at 2026. He just can't do it.
I laughed this morning. I happened to see a TV commercial for a coffee place, and it said now.
I saw it too.
Now with protein. It said, if you want to add protein, we can do that for you. And I laughed because I said, oh, I know a place that already has the protein for you, and it's even in their name. And it's called Protein Bar and Kitchen. And the cool thing about it is whether it is breakfast, lunch, dinner, a snack, a pre-workout load up, or a post-workout protein reuptake, that's their whole thing. And everything tastes fantastic. And it also can be a fantastic deal for you. So it's everything. Right now, Protein Bar and Kitchen, and this is at all of their Chicagoland locations right now, and most of them are in 15 locations, majority around Chicagoland area, Northbrook, Oakbrook, many places around here in the city. There's one right by us that, because you're listening to Dan Bernstein Unfiltered, when you download the PBK app, you're going to get 50% off your next visit, up to $25. The order's up to $25. DBU50, DBU50 is the code. And you just open the app, you hit more, you enter the promo code, and then you're enjoying all the stuff, the fall menu, because they change all the time. And what's great is they're super flexible. And I know this because my daughter has some shake that she makes that she likes a certain, with this kind of milk and more of this and less of this, and they can do that all for you. But what they've got is the miso salmon bowl right now, super popular. A shake called the Smashing Pumpkin, their Boo Berry Halloween shake, and then all the stuff that everybody already loves. The Mexicali bowl, their vegan salad, the bacon, egg, and cheese scramble. I always say that I am a purist when it comes to my lunches. Their Caesar salad with the grilled chicken in it, perfect.
It's one of my favorites. And I actually, this morning, I deviated from my regular blended protein shake, and I got the Smashing Pumpkin.
Did you?
Yes.
How was it?
It's so good. It's so good. So it's pumpkin, apple, maple syrup, almonds, vanilla whey protein, cinnamon, and oat milk, and it was so delicious. So I wanted to get my PB&J, but I'm like, I've been wanting to try this. I got to do it. I can't pull away from my regular. So I did the Smashing Pumpkin. It was great. I don't know if I'll do it for lunch or just do it tomorrow morning. I am going to try the blueberry.
Okay.
The Halloween shake. So that's blueberry, blackberry, banana, organic agave, Greek yogurt, vanilla whey protein, and almond milk. Sounds fantastic. The Smashing Pumpkin, though, it was so good.
You know what I love about the salad, too? Because I love Caesar salad, but usually when I order it, during the middle of the day when I don't do carbs,
Yeah.
I'll say no croutons.
Oh, you got to get the croutons.
We get people like, well, croutons, that's the essence of a Caesar salad. But I don't like carbs during the day. Already on theirs, they do the Parmesan, instead of just like grated Parmesan, they give you Parmesan crisps that function as the croutons.
Yes, it's good.
So instead of Parmesan and croutons, the Parmesan crisps are the texture. They are the croutons. So it's just an ideal salad for me.
See, I thought you were, like, the first time we went, I thought you were copying me when I ordered the chicken Caesar.
I'm not copying you.
Yeah, I thought, well, you're getting the same thing. I didn't know that was your go-to go-to selection.
I got what I wanted.
Yeah, I love it.
Yes.
It's so good there.
And I think Teddy actually said that he eats that
he says he
3
eats
or 4 days a week.
No, I think he eats it every day, 3 times a day.
Well, it's in romaine and a little bit of kale in there, so you get a little. The texture is just great. It's awesome. So Protein Bar and Kitchen, the code DBU50. Download the app, and you will find that there's always rewards. Yeah, they send you stuff. Hey,
buy
by the way,
stuff, you get stuff.
Yeah, you got this, you got this, you got this, you got this. When you make a habit of it.
Today, $5 Thirsty Thursday for blended drinks.
$5 for the.
But you gotta have the app.
Okay.
Get the app.
Well, there you go. Our friends at Protein Bar and Kitchen, all over the Chicagoland area, DBU 50.
All right, wait, a couple more things before you go. Because there's things I want you to hear real quick. I'm not sure if you heard everything, but he was asked about second guessing himself with the trade deadline.
I think you always, I think if you do this job and do it well, I think you're constantly thinking about what else you could do, and that's natural. But I do feel like when I think back on the most obvious thing that people talk about was starting pitching at the trade deadline, and honestly, like, I haven't really thought about that much since early August because I know what the market was. I know how tight the starting pitching market was. I know to acquire players I thought could impact a pennant race, it would have cost us players that impacted our second half in a big way on the team. And so certainly there's moves going back years that you think about in terms of how you can continue to get better. And I think that, my job is to just keep getting better at this job every single year. So of course I think about that. But when it comes to the trade deadline, I don't, just because I know what the market was, and I know what the prices were. And I also know that other teams weren't able to acquire that kind of pitching talent either.
Yeah, he went on to talk more about the trade deadline moves and building a winning team in Major League Baseball today, what it looks like. And you're not going to see as many significant trade deadline moves as the playoffs expand even further. You're going to see that less and less. It's about building through the draft, about smart free agency, and getting the right players with proper player evaluations.
I still think there's going to be bullpen arms. The teams that drop out, you're still going to be able to find.
Not significant names, though, I don't think.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily mind it because I don't like multi-year commitments to bullpen arms generally. If they're not homegrown, I don't mind rentals of guys like Kittredge, where you have somebody for your circle of trust. Trades like that. Yeah, that doesn't bug me.
Now, there was one last one I want you to hear. He's asked about the offense during the season and then the postseason, how the offense changed a little bit.
So I think the totality of what our offense did, I think, was exceptional. We were 5th in baseball in run scoring in a difficult home offensive environment. So I think our offense overall was terrific. I don't know if we have any control over the shape of how that happens, to be honest with you. Last year, we sat here and we had a great second half offensively. I think some of that stuff is random when guys are hot and when they're not. And I think that, if you look at, the totality, we had a really excellent offensive team we did have some struggles in the second half, and those struggles were just simply we had a collection of players in the first half at the same time that were playing exceptionally well, and then some of those same players were struggling in the second half. I think in the postseason, I think we're like fourth or fifth in OPS and offensive production for the postseason, for the teams that are in the postseason. We did struggle with runner scoring position. I don't think that's indicative of anything. If I'm being honest, I think it's eight baseball games, and I think it's against two of the best pitching staffs in baseball. You're not getting the matchups you're going to normally get during the season, and because of the nature of the postseason. So, I think drawing big conclusions based on 8 games against really good teams, I think is probably not the best conclusion to draw. I think for the totality of our season, we had a really good offense, and that's what I'll focus on.
I really like the fact that Jed Hoyer is talking about randomness.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm the guy that invoked captain variance, and it's one of the frustrating things about baseball. I applauded Craig Counsell for saying we have luck in our game. You do, got a lot of luck. But you know what he's got? I want all of this stuff and all this talk about randomness and variance. When he does have that sit down with Tom Ricketts, tell him.
Yeah.
Because you know how you gird yourself, how you protect, how you insure against the vagaries and vicissitudes of randomness.
Better players. Yeah, it's really not hard.
Yeah, and good players cost money, but have more good players. Your backups shouldn't be question marks. The back end of your bullpen, they don't need to be question marks. Injuries are random. There's a lot of luck. There's a lot of, but the way you insure against it costs money.
And I don't like the idea of using a roster spot for a guy to come in to be a veteran player to show the young guys how to do it. I'd like that last guy on a roster spot to be a really good guy.
Good player.
That's a good player that can come in with limited opportunities and still be productive and play well. And I thought it was funny there,
What
too.
do you think of Justin Turner? It
seems like a great guy. I hated him as a Dodger. I like him here as a Cub. It's fine. But again, unless he truly makes young players play better, and you see it on the field, which I don't know how that translates to it. It just doesn't.
Supposedly he was Matt Shaw's whisperer.
Okay, and then Matt Shaw had a pretty shitty year when it came down to it offensively at the end, when they needed him. Now I know he walked, he got on base, but you're not going to go back to 2025 and think, God, remember that Matt Shaw year in 2025 with the bat? Ooh, that was impressive. Because he had Justin Turner.
Believe me, we'll remember Matt Shaw stuff from this year.
Yeah,
but not has nothing to do with what he did on the field.
I'd rather have a guy that is going to be more productive given the limited opportunities than a guy like Justin Turner, who's a great guy, and there's a club option, I think, for $10 million for Justin Turner. Do you want to keep him?
Yeah.
And I also thought it was interesting there what he said, that, we struggled a little bit offensively, runners in scoring position, but it's only 8 games. You can't look at that. It's 8 games. You can't draw any big conclusions. But yet we were also 4 or 5 in OPS in those same 8 games. So look how good we were. But the bad stuff, it's not enough games to really judge something.
It's random. But we're good at this.
Right.
That's not random.
Right. We're good at this. We weren't good at this, but it's all random. So here's the whole idea. Get the best manager you can. And what's going to happen in baseball, you get the best players you can get based on the money that your ownership is going to let you spend. Mm-hmm. That's really that simple. And all the rest of it is pretty random and luck. But if you get better players, you're going to minimize the randomness and the luck that you need.
And better players cost money.
Yeah.
That's it. That's
not hard.
That's a simple baseball lesson for today.
A couple of things. I'm not going to play more cuts, but just want to show you before you wrap up. He talked about that trip to Tokyo. He mentioned it like Matthew Boyd did, about what was so special about this team. And he highlighted that trip too. Week alone with just your family, nobody else around. And that how it helped, solidify what this team was, their character, their identity. Asked about any offseason surgeries. He said he was meeting with the medical team later that afternoon, later yesterday, to see if there's anything. Now, like Swanson and Nico had stuff last year. Those were highlighted players he was aware of. He wasn't aware of anything happening in the offseason right now. Craig's entire staff has been invited to come back.
But somebody could get
somebody
a job
could
elsewhere,
leave. Right.
In which case they'll figure that out.
Everyone is welcome back. We don't know if they're all going to stay, but everyone's welcome back. And then, I think that pretty much covers everything that we talked about.
If you're waiting for Sunday, here is the latest on our radioactive shrimp crisis in the world. Now, a lot of our shrimp comes from Indonesia. If you go, you buy stuff in the store, you always look in the fine print when you see that tag in there in the ice in the case. Sometimes it says product of Indonesia because it's a good place to farm shrimp. Well, a large industrial zone on the outskirts of Jakarta is grappling with radioactive contamination. So this is what we're learning right now. This is from The Guardian. A government task force found traces of the hazardous isotope cesium-137 at 22 production facilities at the site, which includes businesses that export frozen seafood. The discovery has prompted emergency decontamination and relocation of residents. Follows a contamination scare in the U.S. that has now been traced back to the Jakarta facilities. Multinational retailer Walmart is among the businesses that have recalled products. Indonesian authorities launched an investigation after the U.S. FDA, at least a remaining functioning aspect of U.S. government, detected cesium-137, a radioactive isotope, in a shipment of frozen breaded shrimp exported by Indonesian company PT Bahari Makmur Sejati. The FDA issued an advisory telling distributors and retailers to dispose of the product and not sell it. I'm really surprised that RFK isn't recommending more of this shrimp. Like this, it's a small victory. Like we've moved the bar, we've moved the goalpost, whatever it is. But I would think immediately that RFK would just stand there with his giant pink face and his brain worms and say, eat more radioactive shrimp. The detected level was below the intervention threshold, but they have said the primary health effect of concern following longer-term repeated low-dose exposure is an elevated risk of cancer resulting from damage to DNA. Radiation scans revealed at least 22 plants were contaminated. The task force did not name the 21 other facilities, but said they would immediately undergo decontamination procedures. I don't know if I'm buying this. Health authorities conducted checks on workers and residents. They found 9 people testing positive for cesium-137 who were referred to a hospital. You might want to go to the hospital. Okay. The contaminated sites will undergo these procedures, but they have designated the site of a scrap metal factory as an isolation facility for the contaminated goods. Indonesia has no nuclear power plants, no weapons program. So they believe the cesium-137 may have entered the country from overseas. They believe scrap metal imports were likely the source of contamination. They're going to impose restrictions on scrap metal imports. Vehicles are being inspected as they move through the area. Cesium-137 usually enters the environment as a result of nuclear accidents, such as Fukushima or Chernobyl. So this is the bad stuff. The recalled shrimp sold at Walmart stores in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, Missouri, Mississippi, Ohio, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas, and West Virginia. So that is your latest update on radioactive shrimp. One more thing. I have been lavishing South Park in this season with high praise for some of the fearless work that they've done in the face of an ever oppressive comedy and satire environment. They're fumbling right now. They're dropping the ball. There were a couple of tremendous episodes, and I think they've made a miscalculation. From my perspective, this is just my opinion as a longtime fan of South Park, who has gone back and ever since my kid really got into it and gone back and reappreciated some of the older episodes. This storyline where they've resurrected the whole Saddam Hussein and Satan relationship from Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, but they've put Donald Trump in the role of Saddam Hussein with the same voice. And there's also like a Fantasy Island thing going on where they've got J.D. Vance as Hervé Villachez playing Tattoo. It's not working. It's not working. It's I thought it was a cute idea, but they're continuing to carry it and carry it and carry it. And in this episode, there's a callback to something that happened to a minor character a while ago. If you're still watching and still caring about what's going on, I don't want to spoil it for you. I like the subplot that's going on with Power Christian Principle now that is directly at odds with Jesus, because Jesus himself is now the counselor. And Jesus is the school counselor, but Power Christian Principle is completely at odds with Jesus. Jesus is getting fed up with the perversion of his teachings, and no one's really listening to Jesus when he's saying, "Hey, I'm not about this. This isn't what I stand for. You're doing things in my name that have nothing to do with me," and no one's listening to him. I get it. I get all the points that they're making and everything that they tried to do with Israel, but I just think that they fumbled this whole thing with the whole Trump Satan plot that they're trying to bring back. So I hope it gets a little more focused, maybe gets back on track and gets the edge back a little bit. I thought that the episode they did with Cartman as Charlie Kirk, which they since pulled, was tremendous. It helped me understand who Charlie Kirk was because I didn't know. That was largely instructive to me. And sometimes I need my satire to be instructive because I didn't really know who he was until that episode. And he since was newsworthy afterward, obviously. But they can, whatever chance they've got to pull this thing back on the tracks, I hope they do. Here endeth my thoughts.
All right,
on South Park. But look, I've complimented them when they're good, and I'm going to tell you when I think they've lost the plot a little bit, literally, figuratively. They've lost the plot. They got a chance to get it back and sharpen up a little bit. I would appreciate it, so they can get back out and stunt on these hoes.
Oh, boy. All right, and that is the conclusion of Dan Bernstein,
Yes.
Unfiltered, for today.
We got a big forward progress coming up if you're a Bears fan.
Yep.
Talk more Bears! Oh, my God, are we going to talk Bears? We've got a ton of stuff. I got to figure something out, and you know that I love information. Little teaser forward progress. If you want to just get right to it, there's something I'm telling you. I try to understand stuff. I don't understand something regarding an assessment of Caleb Williams, and it's not Troy Aikman's opinion. This is not an opinion, and I don't know why it is concluded what it's concluded. So we'll get to that. But this has been Dan Bernstein Unfiltered.
Dan Bernstein Unfiltered on 312 Sports.